welcome back to ClearCast, the real estate fintech podcast. This is episode 14, Kenon.
What? How have they not shut us down yet?
I don't know. It's a great mystery. I'm Jeff Allen, joined as always by my friend and colleague Kenon Chen. Kenon, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
It's great.
We've got an exciting episode planned for episode 14. Later on in this episode.
Wait. How are you? How are you though?
Oh, you wanted to know how I was doing?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Actually, I'm doing really good. My wife and I are vaccinated against COVID. It's spring. The snow has melted. Life is returning to normal. I'm feeling great. Thanks for asking.
That is awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
We've got a great episode planned. Later on this episode, we've got Tony Thompson, who is the CEO and co-founder of NAMMBA, which is the National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America. That will be super fun. But before we bring Tony in, we want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. And Kenon, in our line of work, real estate mortgage, there is just one topic that we keep coming back to over and over these last 6 months or so, and that is housing prices. In a word, they are going crazy. Extremely strong price appreciation. I think 11% year over year is the latest stats that I've seen. And so Kenon, help us decode this. This feels a lot like 2006 when things were going up and up and up and prices were going crazy. And then, I don't know if you recall, you're kind of young, but 2006, bad stuff happened to the housing market right after that. So the question, Kenon, please educate us, is, are we in the midst of another housing price bubble? What do you think?
It does feel alarming, I think is a good word for it. In fact, our data, so we run our home price index twice a month, and our March index, we were at 12% appreciation year over year. And that doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. The supply demand equation obviously is not changing. There's still not enough supply, and we see demand, continuing to stay strong. A couple things that really shocked me was, normally between January and the spring, buying season, there's more and more inventory that comes on the market. People don't list their homes during the winter, and they, wait till the spring or getting close to that to start putting their home on. So usually there's more homes, on the market available in April, than there are in January.
Right.
Well, this year we didn't even have that run up. There was actually less homes on the market in March than there were in January. And then in terms of the number of active listings, there was only 47% of listings on the market now than there were last year.
Yeah.
So we have less than half of the homes there, and we didn't get a run up into the spring in terms of inventory. So yeah, so by saying supply is constrained is an understatement. It's pretty wild. And then on top of that, right, we've got all kinds of things that are spurring on demand, including stimulus checks. We see some strong signs of an economic recovery, and consumer sentiment is going up for both purchasing homes as well as home builders. Sentiment's going up. So maybe there's a bubble, but it certainly appears right now that the dynamics going into the rest of this year is that we'll still see demand even with home prices going up so high.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. All the data seems to indicate that the market fundamentals are supporting the price increases we're seeing, as your point. And additionally, another kind of arrow in the quiver of, hey, it's not a bubble is if you look at the quality of mortgages that are underlying these transactions, a lot better quality than what we saw in 2006 when you had a lot of really bad credit score loans and no interest loans and things like that. So you're right. It doesn't seem the same. It's probably not the same kind of bubble. So then the obvious follow-up question is, well, how does this ever stop? What will put an end to kind of the runaway train of house price appreciation? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, certainly, affordability is a concern, right? So, I mean, at a certain point, right, it's just going to be very difficult for, especially for first-time home buyers and for others to even be able to afford the home prices. And so, maybe there'd be almost hit kind of a ceiling where things slow down. Also, we're seeing folks stay in their homes longer, so there's less inventory coming back onto the market, and but yet there's record levels of equity. So maybe we'll see more and more improvements go into homes, more remodeling. I think last year was a record year for remodeling, so expecting to see that continue. And again, though, those remodels, people wanting to create more space, upgrade, different aspects, since everyone's been stuck in their homes for the past year. Those again drive up, right, home prices. Those mean that even the older homes are getting up, updated in a record at a record pace. So yeah, it definitely seems we're going to hit a wall at some point. We just don't know what that is.
Yep. Well, that's very optimistic. We're going to run into a brick wall at some point, and we don't know when.
There's a cliff. We just don't know when we're going to get to it. No, but I think that, reasonably seeing some sort of correction of home prices or flattening of that, that certainly makes sense.
Yep. It's coming in our future somehow, some way, and we'll just have to keep monitoring. So thank you to economics professor Kenon for walking us through that. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Geez, would you be up for a real estate joke with the pod?
I'm getting a phone call. I just happened to see that. One sec. Okay, I suppose I can hang in there for a joke.
Okay, thank you. This is another original, and you, as a fellow musician like me, I think might appreciate this one. So let's dive right in.
Just trying to butter me up, so I'll listen.
Yeah, as I know, if I don't butter you up, you're actually just literally going to be looking at your phone, pretending to listen. Okay, so there's this real estate agent, and he recently had a deal. It was so crazy, so monumental, that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, is going to be erecting a special exhibit about it, about the real estate deal. Pretty weird, right?
It is weird because I've been there, and that's really weird.
So it is weird. So here's what happened. His client was a buyer. It's his neighbor, actually, his neighbor Floyd. And Floyd's was looking for a house in the early spring. They look at a bunch of places. Nothing's feeling right. So his client decides to go on his planned vacation to Mexico. Take a little breather, come back and look at some more places when he gets back from Mexico. So while Floyd's in Mexico, the agent starts doing some pre-MLS scouting. So basically, he's trying to find houses that are like just about to come on the market, but they haven't hit the MLS yet. So that way he can find something for Floyd to look at when he gets back from Mexico. So he's calling around to these agents, trying to find a pre-MLS listing. And this one agent he talks to is like, actually, there's this awesome, beautiful old house, kind of a fixer-upper, little weird, but it's available. It's just down the street. You should go check it out. So the agent goes down to the house, knocks on the door, and a guy shows up to the door wearing a wizard cloak. Wow, that's crazy. And he's doing like some chanting, like some kind of like cult-like chants. Really weird. But the agent's like, I gotta get some listings to show Floyd. So
What
he's
is
like,
this
so I
guy?
hear, just wait, it's gonna be great. So he says to the wizard guy, I hear you might be interested in selling this home. Can you tell me anything about it? The wizard guy's like, well, this is a special holy place where we pay homage to our god, the oyster. The agent's like, okay, an oyster? I'm just trying to find a house for my customer. Is this for sale? And the wizard guy's like, yes, it is for sale, though it does make me and my followers of the oyster god very, very sad that we have to leave this home. You see, we love it here, but the police have told us we can't hold our religious oyster ceremonies here anymore without a permit, so we will have to sell. The agent guy is like, well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a sad story. Let me take a couple pictures. I'll see what my client thinks. Takes some photo, says goodbye, waits for Floyd to get back from Mexico. A few days later, Floyd shows up at the real estate agent office back from Mexico. He's insanely sunburned. Like his whole body is just completely burnt and peeling from his time in Mexico. Total pain, except he's got two perfect untouched strips where he was wearing suspenders the whole time that he was in Mexico. So
Okay.
completely sunburned except for two strips where the suspender spots were. The angel is like, man, I'm so sorry you got sunburned. And in such a weird way, you just look really weird. The good news is I found a house you might like. Floyd is like, dude, I am so sunburned that I can't even think straight, and I need to move ASAP. As long as you can help me close on a house by St. Patrick's Day, I don't care what it looks like. Let's just buy whatever place you found. So they closed the deal on St. Patrick's Day. Sunburned neighbor guy is now the happy owner of the crazy oyster wizard guy's house. So how did this real estate deal come to be so beloved by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that it's getting to get its own exhibit?
I would love to know.
Well, think about it. Pink Floyd with the white stripes bought a house on Green Day from a blue oyster cult.
Why?
There's 4 different jokes in it, and they all tie back to band names that have colors in them. Did you connect on that?
I get yes, and I knew Pink Floyd was coming,
Okay.
but I was not expecting the Green Day and
Because it's
the Blue Oyster
St.
Cult.
Patrick's Day.
Right.
St. Patrick's
Yeah.
Day. Blue
Yeah.
oyster cult. The oyster cult was very sad, so they're blue.
Yeah.
And did you get the white stripes part?
No, I did not know that was coming. I was trying to put that together with Pink Floyd. I was going through Pink Floyd albums in my mind. And I'm like,
you're like, Dark Side of the Moon?
The cover is white. It was not working out.
Well,
and then you said oysters and I got hungry. It was just, yeah.
I feel as if that is maybe the single-handedly stupidest joke that I've told on this podcast, and maybe the worst use of my life to date.
It was a cornucopia of train wrecks all put together. That's fun.
Well, thank you for your patience and letting me indulge in these ridiculous jokes.
That's great. Thanks for for using up my valuable time for that. All right. Well, we are excited to be joined by our guest here. This is going to be a fun one. A few years ago, actually, I met Tony Thompson, who is the CEO of the National Association of Minority Mortgage Bankers of America, NAMMBA, as we call it for short. I think we met, going on 3 years ago now. and wow, has a lot changed, since we originally met. But we're excited to have Tony as our guest today. What NAMMBA is it's an organization dedicated to increase engagement of women and minorities within the mortgage banking industry, both at the local, state, and national level. Since its inception in 2016, NAMMBA has grown to over 25 chapters and 3,000 members nationwide. Tony has a 15-year plus experience of leading and building high-performance teams, and his vision is to create a platform where women and minorities can connect, grow, and become leaders in the mortgage industry. So we're really privileged to have Tony here. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Hey, first of all, Kenon, thank you and the team over at ClearCast, man, for allowing me to have a chance to hang out with you for a couple of moments. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I've had a couple conversations with you in the past, but I'm not sure I ever really heard, your founder story. What inspired you to start NAMMBA? Was there a specific moment or event that inspired you? Give us a little bit of that background.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's kind of ironic how NAMMBA got founded because it wasn't anything intentional. For those who knew me, I've been in the mortgage industry, as you stated, for a long time. But in 2011, I actually pursued my CMB designation. So I, went through the entire process with the MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association, getting my CMB, doing all the things that I needed to get to by myself with the help of, shout out for their Path to Diversity Scholarship. But in the process of getting your CMB, one of the things that you have to do is you have to have a sponsor to sponsor you before you can actually get your CMB and take your final exam. And so unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that I needed a sponsor. I just looked at it and said, hey, if this is what it takes to learn more about the industry, I'm going to go and really just focus and really ingrain myself in learning the industry, because I was committed to it. But right before I got ready to graduate, I got a call from the MBA one day. It was kind of funny. They were like, this was like 2 days before I'm getting my CMB, or I'm doing the last portion to get my CMB exam. And they say, hey, Tony, you're doing a phenomenal job. But by the way, we have a little problem. Technically, you're supposed to have a sponsor to sponsor you, quote unquote, during this process. And given that you're sitting for the final piece in a couple of days, we were trying to find you a sponsor that could be someone that you could relate to, quote unquote, make you feel good, quote unquote. Long story short, they were trying to find an African-American person of color to be my sponsor, someone that I could, again, resonate with, right? Being politically correct, right? And so the issue was, I was like, we were trying, but we really couldn't find anybody. And so it's kind of embarrassing for us, but like, it's only about 1,200, 1,300 CMBs in the country, and we were just having a really hard time finding a Black CMB.
Finding one.
Exactly. So that's when a light bulb went off and was like, wait a minute, dude, you mean to tell me you can't find a person of color who has their CMB? And so there's like, yeah. And so ultimately, long story short, we ended up finding a person of color to again, sign off and be my sponsor for the CMB. I got my CMB. And in the process of getting that, I started doing a lot of speaking for the MBA and speaking at conferences. And I realized when I got up on stage and I went into the room, I'm like, dude, like, wow, this sucks. This is, nothing but a bunch of old white males, pale and gray, as we say, bald head. And I'm like, where are the young people? Where are the women? Where are the minorities, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, our industry is more than this. Our industry has to do better. And so that became the seed of NAMMBA. And so I remember going home one day and just telling my wife, I said, look, hey, honey, I rented out this hotel in Atlanta, and I'm going to put up on social media, hey, we're starting an association. And if you just want a place to connect, you want a place to grow, and you want a place to really learn and really develop yourself, come to this conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're just going to connect and go from there, right? And so that was in 2016, kind of 5 years later, after I had gotten my CMB. that NAMMBA was birthed, and it was really birthed for the simple mission of connecting people, providing a ecosystem where they can grow, learn, and develop, and from all ethnicities, from all segments of the industry, sales, ops, attorneys, appraisals, MI. It didn't matter. It was really focused on just collaborating, education, developing people to help them grow.
That's an awesome origin story. Very personal one, personal inspiration, and now having a much bigger impact than just at the personal level. So that was about 5-6 years ago, it sounds like, that NAMMBA was first started. Obviously, a lot's changed, but how has NAMMBA changed? What have been the biggest kind of growth things you've experienced at NAMMBA that you're most proud of over the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, first of all, when we started NAMMBA, it was really one of these things as a club, something like, hey, again, if you're down with this and you want to network to grow and latch on to, come be a part of NAMMBA. But certainly over the last 3 years, NAMMBA has begun to really morph into being the industry's resources for all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what really, I think, launched us into that spotlight was really our focus on two things. One, bringing in young talent to the industry. We all know, no matter what segment of the industry you're working in, that we need more millennials, we need more women, and we need more diverse people in our industry, in every industry within the real estate finance industry. And so NAMMBA's goal to set out and to connect our industry with 50,000 students through our Mission 2025 plan, which says, hey, we want to launch chapters on college campuses. We want to help close the home ownership gap. And we want to let students know who we are, what we do, and how we impact local communities and how we help create the American dream. That's something as an industry we need to do to give back, most importantly, to bring in the students who can be the next generation of leaders. And then certainly over the last 2 years, needless to say, across America, there's been a lot of dialogue with companies, just understanding what's happening from a racial equity standpoint, from a economic equity standpoint, from a close the wealth gap, and then most importantly, just from embracing diversity as a strategic advantage. And so our goal is to help companies understand how to collaborate, how to connect, and how to use diversity as a competitive advantage to retain great talent and to attract great talent. And that's the reason why we've really seen a lot of companies in the industry really flock to NAMMBA, because we are that industry resource, and we're continuing to provide resources to help companies go from good to great.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch, the momentum, build with like you said, companies flocking to NAMMBA, and seeing all the different organizations, partnering up with you guys and joining up. You mentioned being the diversity being the thing that people are having conversations around and coming to you for. A couple of years ago, I was at Salesforce's conference, and Barack Obama was speaking there, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, diversity is not charity, it eliminates blind spots. And it struck me because he turned it around from being diversity as something that's a nice to have or something that you do because it's like the right thing to do. And instead, it's something that you can do to actually ensure that you're not missing important aspects that could get you, it could just mean you could miss out on what you're capable of. How do you define diversity? You mentioned strategic advantage, but what is diversity to you? What is diversity to NAMMBA? What does that mean?
For us, diversity is all about making sure that companies and individuals in companies value the ability to understand and hear and collaborate with different people from different backgrounds, different perspectives, different experiences, to make themselves better, to make their organizations better, and the communities that they live in. And again, when you think about NAMMBA's journey, I didn't set out to start a nonprofit. I mean, I was a pure mortgage banker at heart, but I recognized that there needed to be, our industry could do better. Our industry has an opportunity to do better. And it's because of the diversity of my experiences. It's because of me engaging in the industry as wanting to become better and to give back, that through that diversity, now we have a force of good, and we have a guiding light and a beacon that our industry is now utilizing to make their companies and our industry better. Just, I'm that example of diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the practical things that you think the mortgage and real estate industries can do to encourage more diversity, like practical boots on the ground stuff? What should we be doing?
Well, I think first and foremost is really about communication. I tell leaders and when I speak with CEOs all the time, most importantly, what everyone, regardless of what company they work for, what industry they're in, they want to feel like they belong to an organization that cares about what's important to them as an employee, as well as what's important to the organization. And so the only way to understand what's important to your employees is to communicate and listen. And everything starts with a conversation. Even the fact that we are different, there are something that you and I can relate to that can be used as the basis of developing a relationship, and thus understanding and moving from differences to what are the things that are our strengths that we can focus on together to become better. And so to me, I tell organizations that it really is about, the first step to increasing diversity is just to start having a conversation about diversity. And diversity doesn't exclude anyone. It just includes everyone. So that's the other thing that companies have to understand. We're not talking about excluding our white brethren. We're talking about just including everyone so that ultimately we can align our strengths. We can align the things that we have on shared common ground and values to move ourselves forward, to move the organization forward, to learn and grow from there.
That's good. I mean, there's a lot of conversation going on right now. There's a lot of course, attention on this. It really got accelerated especially from last summer to now. I was talking with one of my colleagues about the idea of, all right, we've got a 15-minute window to do some real, make some real change. How do we keep extending that 15-minute window? But I guess my question is, how does this momentum continue? How is it here to stay, as opposed to being what happens to be, in the media, what happens to be, kind of the hot topic? How does it become a lasting way that people do business?
Well, I think if I'm a leader and if I'm a company today, I would be thinking about two things. First, this is a moment to really have companies step up and be leaders in their respective industry. And in any area of change, in any area of progress, it's really been those individuals, leaders who had the foresight, the vision, but most importantly, the understanding that something has to move forward. Something has to continue to move forward in order to have an everlasting impact. And so I think many leaders right now have an opportunity, as we are moving a year, 2 years past the whole diversity conversation, the Black Lives Matter movement. This isn't about a movement. This is about a future. What do we want the future of the mortgage industry and real estate industry to be known for in our communities across the country? And then secondly, there's an opportunity for companies, I believe, to just truly take this as a way to raise their hands and say, I don't know the answer to everything, but I just want to get better, right? And when you just raise your hands and say, I want to get better, normally everybody's willing to help somebody who wants to get better. And that's what we're here at NAMMBA to do, is to help our industry get better. Because the one thing I do know, Kenon, is the future employees, the future employment base is demanding that we get better, or else they're going to go somewhere else. And every company needs great talent to survive and thrive. And so that's the understanding that we have to all face is if we don't get better ourselves, if we don't elect to get better, we will be forced to get better because we won't attract the talent, because the millennials, they want to work for someone, they want to work for an organization that care, and is not all about profitability. Profitability is great, and they want that, but they also want to know that there's something more than just them contributing to profitability. And that's why I think we as an industry have to understand that and be proactive versus reactive.
So you've got an event, it looks like, coming up in the fall where folks can really dig in deeper. The NAMMBA Connect 2021 event looks like it's coming up here in September. Can you tell us a little bit about what happens at NAMMBA Connect events and what we can expect?
Oh man, NAMMBA Connect 2021 is a special event. We're really excited. Save the date. It's September the 16th through the 19th in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to dial in about 90 degrees. We'll peel back the humidity for our friends who are coming from the West Coast and San Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll peel back the humidity. But seriously, NAMMBA Connect, we're celebrating our 5th anniversary, and really what this is going to be a phenomenal conference for the industry, because we've got 2 days of training for over 5 tracks: originations, operations, real estate professionals, CEOs, as well as HR executives from across the country to learn about all things D&I, but really at the end of the day, to learn the best and brightest around products, programs, and connecting with some of the best thought leaders and practitioners to help move their organization forward in 2022 and beyond. So we're really excited about Connect, and we're going to be launching the site May 1st, where people can go ahead and purchase their tickets. And from everything that we've seen, this will look like it's one of the first large industry events for our industry. And so we're just excited to be there to really have everyone to celebrate our 5th anniversary with us.
Yeah, I think everybody in our industry very much misses conferences, oddly. Just any kind of conference, I'm ready. But that one in particular sounds pretty great. Sorry, I interrupted you, Kenon.
No, I'm excited that there's an in-person event. Wait, what? Yeah. That's super exciting. Jeff and I love all things, real estate and mortgage. When actually knowing there's a track for real estate separate from mortgage, but at the same event where you're getting everyone together, that's super interesting to us, because we're always exploring this intersection between real estate and finance. What was your thought behind that? I mean, it seems like you've got some tracks that are a little different than other industry conferences out there. I mean, focusing on operations, real estate, on sales. I haven't seen that as much. So what's the thinking?
Very much, first and foremost, Kenon, when people hear about the NAMMBA conference and they come to it, the feedback we get is like, wow, this is something that I've never been to before, because it's the only conference in the industry where you have sales, operations, and real estate all in the same location. But dig this, not only do you have sales, ops, and real estate, you have all segments of the industry: retail, credit union, wholesale, IMBs, independent mortgage banks, the whole gamut within real estate finance. And then most importantly, you have everybody, all ethnicities: Asian, white, Latino, Black, it doesn't matter, male, female, LGBTQ. It is the best place in the country to get a sense of what all-inclusive and diversity is all about, because it's representing our entire industry. That's why we call it Connect.
So as you look forward into the future now, kind of closing out with a final question here, if 5 years from now, if you look, I mean, you've been around and active around 5 years already. So let's look at NAMMBA Connect 10. What are the biggest specific changes you'd like to see in our industry and say, wow, we made progress in mortgage?
First and foremost, that we have more leaders of color and more women in our industry in key leadership roles over the next 5 years in our industry and companies throughout our industry in every segment. NAMMBA is going to be launching the first of its kind state of diversity within the real estate finance industry. We're going to reveal those results of where we are as a baseline and several key measurements at our conference at Connect 2021 this coming September in Atlanta. The second thing is that our industry, whether it is appraisal, title, insurance, sales, operations, that we have a firm pipeline of talent through our Mission 2025, where we've created a national program where students will know about careers in real estate finance. And most importantly, they will be engaging with our industry and our industry partners like Clear Capital to find exciting careers and interns, co-ops, and most importantly, full-time positions. And then last but not least, that 5 years from now, we actually won't be talking about diversity, but we're going to be talking about inclusivity and inclusiveness in terms of just how leveraging inclusiveness can continue to make organizations go from good to great and great to awesome while still making money.
I love it. I mean, in full disclosure, I'm a visionary ambassador for NAMMBA, so I'm certainly going to be doing my part to make that a reality over the next 5 years. And yeah, congratulations, Tony. I think for developing something that not only got started but is seeing incredible momentum, and I think you're making an impact. So we really appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit more about it.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Clear Capital, man. You guys also have been a leader in your respective industry and segment, and certainly partnering with NAMMBA, being a visionary, but most importantly, helping to lead the way to help move our industry forward and make our industry better for everyone in our industry. And so I appreciate your leadership and leadership of the team over at Clear Capital. And we look forward to some exciting fun in September and some exciting years ahead for our industry.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for the time.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Kenon. Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Tony.